This is Møller Nielsen from Java Code Geeks, and I'm going to teach you how to write clean, efficient code using the Python for loop. If you have wondered which way is the best way to go through a dictionary with Python, then this video is something for you. Complementary to this video, there will be related articles in the description below. Also feel free to visit javacodegeeks.com. Take the time to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Now without any further ado, let's get started. Sometimes to handle any problem in any programming language, actually, it can be a good idea to create a flowchart diagram, so you can actually see, you can actually break down the problem of a given task, and it is much easier to code after that. And I'm using Archimate, which is an open source modeling tool, but we will come into that in just a couple of minutes. First of all, let us look at how we actually iterate through data in general with Python. So I have already prepared some code examples right here. First of all, we have the most known way, and that is, especially if you come from the Java world, this is the way that you might be used to go through something. That is that you have the for loop right here, and then you have the for I in range. So we have the range function right here, range function right here, where we give it an argument, like we can give it one or multiple arguments. One argument means that it will have a maximum. It will create a maximum of 10. So that means that it will actually return a list with the number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If we do this, and then we will actually go through that list with this sentence right here. We have the for, and then some variable, and that of course this variable can be whatever we choose to. We can set this to number, and then we can of course when we print out the result, then of course we also need to print out the number. And again, we use a colon right here to say that now we have started the loop, and then everything that isn't indented after the colon will be run inside this loop right here. So that means that if I run this program right here, then it should actually print out the count 10 times. First of all, let me just comment the code right here. We will call that in just a minute. You can right click and then you can just choose run if you want to run the Python file, and I'm using PyCharm from IntelliJ, and you can use the open source version there. They both have a community edition, and then they have a professional edition. The difference is the support for style sheets and HTML, but the community edition is enough to follow this video right here. And as you can see right now, we ran the program 0 to 9. And if you want to change this, of course, we can just change the number to 5. If you only want to go through this and print this out 5 times, then we just change this number to 5. And now, since we just ran this file right here, then we can rerun what we just ran before by pressing Shift F10, and that's exactly what I'm pressing now. Shift F10. It's a good one to know. And we can always see up here in this menu, in this drop down right here, which program that we actually going to run if we press Shift F10. So let us now comment the range 5 right here, and here we have here we have another situation, and again we say for I in range 10, and then we do some math on this on this index. That means that we're actually using the index to calculate this count right here, and we're adding 10 to this for loop right here. And that is a normal way to use the index. It is to you use it to add something else with it. That could be one use case, of course. So let us run this program again, and this time it starts with 10, and then it says 11, 12, 13, and again up to 19, because the I variable is not going to change, even though that I'm going to create a new variable, and then I'm going to use the index, and then I'm adding 10 to the index. That is why that is also why programmers tend to use the letter I for index. But as you just saw just before, you can actually name this variable whatever you want to name it, of course. Now let us try to see what if we want to, another way to actually handle this situation where we want to add 10 to the count. That is actually to use the range with 2 arguments. So if we want to, so if we send the first argument, which is the start number, and then we have the end number, which is the second argument in the range function right here. So if I run the program again, now it should say exactly the same. Now it's just another way we have used the range function, where we have used the 2 argument version of it, and then we have 10 and we have 20 right there, and then we print out the index right here. So you can see this is a shorter way that we have right here than we had up here, where we actually had 3 lines. So if you see some code like this, where you can see that the first thing we actually do is to take the index and then add something to it, then you should actually be in your good right to change it to something like this instead, where you have the range 10 and then 20 as the upper number. So that is ranges. That is the basic way to do stuff multiple times, to execute code multiple times. That is to use for I in and then some kind of range. Let us look at the arrays which we have right here. So this is a list, and here I have created a shopping list with milk, coffee, butter, and bread. And as you probably can see, then the quotes are sometimes with single quotes and sometimes it's with double quotes. It does not matter. I can choose what kind of quotes I want to use. Usually the double quotes are used if you want to use a single quote inside your string. If you want to write something like don't, and then you have a single quote inside, and then of course you want to wrap it all with double quotes. Of course you can also use escape characters like this, and then this will create a double quote inside a double quoted string. But that is just up to you. That was just a small side note. But we have a list right here, and let's say that we want to go through each element in this list. If you are a Java developer, maybe you would actually feel free, maybe you feel tempted to actually to do something like this that we see right now, the first way right here, and that is I can already disclose that this is not the right way to do it, to go through. This is not the Pythonic way to go through a list of data. What we do right here is that we create an index again, and then we say, please go through the range that we create right here, and the range takes the length of the shopping list, which in this case would be 4. So that means it will create a range of 4. And then we will go through this data right here, and we will take out the item as the first thing right here. Item equals to shopping list and then the index, and then we will print it out right here. And that is not the Pythonic way to go through data, but let us just see how it actually works. I'll right click and then run my arrays program right here. It works, as you can see, and it actually delivers the result that we expected, which is fine. But another way, which is much better, and where we have more concise and more specific code, is actually to loop through the lists by using this for loop syntax right here, where you have the variable again, the item, and then you just say go through each item inside the shopping list. And again, then we print out the item right here. Now let us run the program again, and we can see both of these areas of code, lines of code. They actually give us the same result. We have the milk, coffee, butter, bread right here, and we have the same again for the first way to go through all of our items. If you see codes like this, then if you see code where you are actually picking out the item as the first step when you iterate through an array, and it also accounts for dictionary, which we're going to look in just a minute, then you should definitely refactor it and change the code to something like this. Now let us try to go through some dictionaries. Dictionaries are when you have a key value set. So I have a key which is named Mike right here. So this is song choice for each person. Of course, this is a dictionary that I made up. But Mike, he likes disco. Susan likes love. Jack likes techno. Henrik likes country music. So we have a key value set right here. We have a dictionary. So the most basic way to go through a dictionary like this is actually if you don't write anything, then you can go through each key inside the dictionary like this. So you go for key in, and then the dictionary, and this actually works. Then you would get the key, and then the first thing you can do in this situation right here is actually to get the value choice, get choice out from inside this dictionary by using the key we're using right here, and then we print out the choice. That is one way to do it, but again, there's a better way to do this, and that is actually to get the key and the value out at the same time right away, and then you will call the items. So you will call the items function on the dictionary like this. This is the right way to go through the dictionary, and here we can print out the person, and we can also print out the choice like that. Now let us try to run both of these lumps of code right here by right-clicking, and then we say run dictionaries. And as you can actually see, if you press Control Shift and then F10, then it will actually run the file that has the focus right now. But let us look at the result. First, we have choice disco, and we have mic choice disco right down here, and we have love, and we have techno, and we have country. So the result is of course exactly the same. It's the same result that we get, but we just get less lines of code. It's easier to read this code right here. It's easier to maintain. Every time you save a line, then we have one line less to worry about, especially if you have a team where it's not just you who are developing on some project. So these are the dictionaries, and the Pythonic way to go through the dictionaries like this is definitely like this that we see right here. Go through the items, and both take out the keys and the values at the same time. Then we have something called breaks inside our loops. That means that if we have a for loop or if we have a while loop, then we can break the loop. We can also continue. So the break means go out of the loop, and continue means go to the next iteration. So stop from this point in the code and then go to the next iteration. And both are quite handy to use. In Java, you can actually name your loops, and then you can actually break different levels of loops. You cannot do that with Python. But let us see what we can do. First of all, I have two loops right here. I have an I for I in range 5. That means that we'll go through this 5 times. And then for each of these iterations, then we will go through. Then we'll create a new iteration, which is O in range 5. That means we'll go through all of this 25 times all in all. Then we have an if sentence right here. If O is even, so if this is even, then we will print out that the number is even, and then we will continue. So that means that then we will not reach this code right here. Continue, this word right here means that it will actually go through the next iteration within the loop that we are in currently. So if the number O is even, and this is a modulus 2. This means that we actually dividing by 2. We are dividing O by 2, and if there's nothing left, then we know that it was even, right? If we have 3 and we divide that with 2, then we'll get 1.5, and that means that then the leftover would be 5. So this is an easy way in most languages to get whether a number is even or odd. Let us try to see the first piece of the code up there and see if it actually how it runs. Now I'll press Control Shift F10 to run the file that that currently has the focus, and let us see what actually happens. We got a lot of output right here. So first of all, we have the continue in the loop since 0 is even. For most programming languages, 0 is defined as even. In math, it's not that simple, I know that, but we will just treat 0 as it is even right now. So that means that we will not get this print out right here for the first number. Then we get to the second number. Then O is 1, that's fine. Then the O will be 2, and then again we get the line continue in the loop since 2 is even, and etc., etc., etc. So we have a lot of situations where if O is even, then we just continue inside our loop. That is how the continue keyword, that's how it works. Let us now look at another situation, because I think now we understand the continue, the continue keyword. Then we have this for loop right here, because now we have something called break. So we have break. We have kind of the same situation as before. We are checking if the number O is even. If it's even, then we want to break the loop. That means that we exit this loop right here, but we are not exiting this loop right here. That's important to understand. We only break one level of loop, so that means that it's only this loop right here that we break, and then we continue and iterate through this loop here afterwards. Let us see how the output actually works. Every time we get an even number, then we break the loop, or else we will actually print out the result for both I and O. Control Shift F10. I could also have just pressed Shift F10 there, because the last program that was run was actually the breaks program. Okay, so now we have O equals I equals to 0 and O equals to 1. Then O becomes 2, and then we break the loop because now it is even. That means that I is now 1, so that means that we're not going through this loop 25 times. We're actually just going through it. We're actually just going through it 5 times 2 times. That's 10 times. So that's how that works right there. So we should have 10 lines right here, which we also have. So that was how to use the break. That's how to use the break keyword right there. And then we have the else. The else is used if no breaks has been met inside a for loop or while loop. Then the else code will be executed. So if break has not been met, then this code will be run as the last thing after the loop is actually done. If the break has been met and the for loop has been broken, then the else part will not be run. This program right here, again, we go to I in range 8. That means we are running this code 8 times, and we get the index, which is I, and we print out what is the index right now, and then we say if it is 6, then break the loop. This means that when we come to 6, then this part of the code right here should not be run if we are right about what we said before, that the else will only be run if the break has not been called. So let us try to run this program right here. I is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we break the loop, and we don't see this output in the log right here. That means that the else part is not being run. We can check this by changing the range to 5 instead, because now we will not meet this part right here. And that means that then now we should actually see, we would expect the else part to be run. And that's exactly what we see right here. We did not break the loop. That is pretty awesome. And this should be a double equal sign instead of is. We did not break the loop. That is pretty cool. So that is how the else part works. So now we have learned about the for loop, the while loop, the else keyword, and also the break and the continue keyword. So now let us look at a complete flow. First of all, this is Archimate that I have right here. It is based on Eclipse, and it is free to download, and it's really good for creating flow diagrams. In this situation right here, we have this coding problem that we want to solve. We want to look for files in a certain directory. Then Then we find some files. Maybe we'll find 2 or 3 files. Then we loop through all of these files, and we print out the content for each of these files. For each file, we print out the content. Then we delete the file afterwards. We go to the next file, print out all the content line by line, and then we delete the file. And we do that for all the files. Then, while we are actually printing out all of the content, we actually check if we have a line that says quit. If there's a line that says quit, then when we come down to this part right here, then if it is yes or true, then we will exit the program. If there is no quit in the line, then we will say no, and then we will go back and wait some seconds. It could also be a minute. We will just wait 5 seconds, because my patience is not that big. So we'll wait 5 seconds, and then again we will restart the flow and the loop right here. Then we will again we will look for some files, do exactly the same thing, and let us see how that program actually could look like. Let me just close what we have here right here, close all tabs, and then we take the file flow which I have right here. I have prepared some files already. I have 2 folders up here. I have a folder named Files, and I have a folder named Files Input. The files, those are the files that I want to copy to Files Input, and then inside the Files Input, that is where we want the program to actually look into and see, and to print out all the content from. I've made one file which is Mike's poetry. Roses are red, other flowers are some other colors. It does not rhyme or anything. It's just to have some content right here. And then I've made another file which is my quit file. So it has a quit statement in the end, and that means that then or flow, if you have written our program correct, then the flow should actually exit, and our program should actually exit after reading this file right here. Let us look at the code. So let us see what the code looks like. First of all, we have a while loop right here, while true, so that means that it will actually run forever. We could also have run this by setting a variable that says running. We will do that in the end just to show you something else. But this loop, we will never get out of this unless we meet a break inside the code, inside the loop right here. So we have a while true, it will run forever. Then we have a sleep 5. This means sleep for 5 seconds. But before that, we look for files, and we handle the files as we saw inside the flow right here. That means that we will look for the files, we will print out, delete, and then continue. So all of this right here, that is the function that says look for files. That is responsibility for that. And the look for files function will actually return a boolean whether it should quit or not. If this boolean is true, then it will break this loop, while loop right here, and the program will be ended. We could also write something like this right here. The quit word was found, so let us end the program. Then we have the function right here, which is quite interesting. So first of all, we have a begin and we have an end right here, so we can see where the function starts and where it begins. And then we have a subdirectory, files input. So that means that this is where we will be looking for files. Found quit. That means that this will determine whether we found the keyword quit inside the files, and it is false to begin with. Then we go through each file name in operating system list dir, and then the subdirectory. So this means this is a way to list the content of a directory. Then we print out the file just to see which file that we are actually handling right now. Then we have a file path right here, and this is when you see this curly brackets right here, that is the Python format so that we want to use. So we can use curly brackets, and we can format and then insert these variables at the positions of the curly brackets inside the string right there. Then we have a file 1, which is just a file, so that is the file that we're actually opening, and we open it for read purposes. If you want to write to this file, then you write a W instead for write if you want to write something in it. And then we can actually use this for loop right here by going through each line, just like this. And this is the Pythonic way to use loops. We just say that we want to go through a file, and then of course it is just line by line when we write it like this. And we don't need to handle indexes or say that we want line at index 5 or something like that. We read one line at a time. If there are no more lines, then we break this loop that we are currently in. If no more lines, we break the current loop that we're in. Then we print out line content right here. That was this part of our flow. This part of our flow right here. Print out the content. That is the line we are at right now. If line equal to quit, then found quit True, but we still continue to handle all of the files that we found inside the directory, in the directory. That is why we just set this variable right here that we found quit, and then we continue handling our files. Then we close the file, and we then delete the file afterwards. And then when we're done, look for file ends, then we return the result. If we find the quit statement or not. Let us try to start this program here by pressing Ctrl Shift F10. This will run the file that has the focus right now. I'll take Mike's poetry, copy that. We can see that it's already running its loop. Every 5 seconds it will write looking for files. I'll now copy my poetry to the files input folder right here. You can see it's right there. Let's see the next flow. Now it found the file, Mike's poetry, and then roses are red, other flowers are other colors. And then in the next flow, it will not find the file because it has been deleted. Even though we can see it right here, if I say reload from disk, then we can see that the file is actually gone. Of course, I can paste it once again, and then we will see the same result again. Here again, we have the file. The file will be deleted, and that's it. So now let us take the quit file right here, the file that ends with the statement quit. I'll copy that. I'll place it in files input folder right here, and we will see what actually happens. Look for files end, and here we have it. So we have line content. This line contains blah blah blah, and then we have quit in end right here, and then we get the quit word was found. So let us end the program. That means that then we ended up in this flow right here. Did the file contain quit? Yes, it did. So exit the program. So this is how to have a flow diagram and then create the corresponding loops that actually makes up the program right here. And every time if you have something, a part of the program that seems a bit difficult to read or handle, then create a new function. That means that we could actually have created a new function for this part right here. We could, so then we could have taken that part out also. So every time we find something that's too difficult to understand or apprehend, something that's difficult to read, then we can create new function from that. So it's just a little tip. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Bye.